Have you ever met someone and felt as though a hidden door inside of you just quietly opened? No sound, no key, just a soft unlocking. You're not sure who they are or where they came from. All you know is something is different now. Something within you shifted, gently but irreversibly, not because they completed you, no, but because they revealed you to yourself. The right person does not appear as perfection. They appear as a mirror. And in that mirror, you don't just see your beauty. You see your longing, your ache, your potential, your shadows. They awaken the forgotten language of your soul, a language only you and they can speak. And suddenly, you feel seen, not for what you present, but for what you protect. They do not demand entry, they wait for your truth. There comes a moment in the inner life when you are no longer simply drawn to another person because of charm, beauty, or shared interests, but because something deep, almost ancient within you, has recognized its counterpart in them. It is not a recognition of the flesh, it is a recognition of the soul's architecture. In dreams, myths, and the buried chambers of our psyche, there lives an inner figure mysterious, elusive, and powerful. For the man, she appears as the anima, the embodiment of his unconscious feminine essence. For the woman, he manifests as the animus, the echo of her inner masculine presence. These figures shape our longings, distort our perceptions, and drive us silently toward wholeness. But when the right person comes into your life, the one who stirs you at a level you cannot name, it is as if that archetype, once confined to your unconscious, has stepped into the outer world. They do not become your anima or animus. No human being ever fully can, but they awaken it, they call it forth. You are not merely falling in love, you are falling into a psychic dialogue. You begin to perceive through them things you've buried in your self-tenderness you forgot, strength you never claimed, dreams you once dismissed as childish. Their presence disrupts your ordinary patterns. You feel haunted and healed, challenged and comforted all at once. You may feel inexplicably drawn to them, not because they are easy to understand, but because they are somehow familiar in a way that no previous lover ever was. As if they carry a missing language your soul used to speak. They stir in you a longing that is not about possession or romance. It is about wholeness, and in their presence, you begin to see your projections, both light and shadow. You begin to see how you expected them to save you, or soothe you, or mirror your greatness. And as that illusion breaks, something more honest begins to take shape. You realize that the gift of this connection was never about finding someone to complete you. It was about remembering what lives within you. It was about bringing to the surface the very qualities you've disowned: tenderness, passion, assertiveness, intuition, clarity, desire, stillness. It was about inner integration. Because the right person does not just make you feel accompanied, they make you feel revealed. They are not simply a lover, they are a symbol, a message, a living threshold to the parts of yourself you were always meant to reclaim. And that is why the encounter feels so intense, so overwhelming, so unforgettable, because it is not simply a meeting with another. There are encounters in life that defy chronology, moments when a stranger enters your world, and instead of curiosity, you feel a strange homecoming. You do not say, "Who is this?" You whisper, "There you are." It is not the beginning of something new. It is the remembering of something old, ancient, even, as if your soul has been quietly waiting, listening, yearning not for someone to walk in, but for someone to return. And when they do, time collapses. You do not measure them in minutes or milestones. You feel as though you've always known them. Their laugh doesn't introduce itself, it reawakens something in you. Their presence doesn't invade your space, it completes its architecture. You find yourself finishing their thoughts, speaking without filters, feeling safe in a way you've never had to earn. You search your memory for the moment you met them, but something inside insists you didn't meet them here, not in this life, not in this place. as if your hearts were acquainted long before your hands ever touched. And it's not fantasy. It's not delusion. It's an inner resonance that rings with such precision. You begin to question what else you've forgotten. You begin to wonder if destiny isn't about forward motion, but about circling back to what was always written. They may not say the most poetic words. They may not check the boxes your mind once built. But their energy, their being, is oddly familiar, as if your nervous system recognizes theirs like a frequency once lost in static. And the more time you spend with them, the more you feel this isn't just attraction. It's recognition, not of personality, but of essence. Their soul does not match yours, it mirrors it. You feel both undone and rebuilt in their presence. Not because they do anything extraordinary, but because their existence awakens the part of you that always believed this kind of connection was possible, that somewhere beyond the ego's reach, beyond your history of heartbreak and disillusion, there was always someone who could see you before you ever had to speak. And it is in this strange familiarity, this sacred déjà vu, that you begin to understand. Perhaps the soul doesn't fall in love. Perhaps it remembers it. And in remembering, something inside you stirs not just attraction, but awakening. Sometimes life feels like noise, not just around you, but within you. You wake up each day to responsibilities stacked like towers, emotions tangled like wire, questions with no clear answers. And then someone enters, not with solutions, not with promises, but with presence. They do not silence the storm, yet somehow, when they're near, the storm loses its grip. It's not that the world stops spinning. It's that, in their company, your center stops spinning with it. Where there was once tension, you feel breath. Where there was once urgency, you feel ease. Not the lazy kind of ease, but the kind born from trust, from being seen, from belonging. You find yourself laughing without planning it. You find stillness between the words. And for the first time in what feels like forever, you're not waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's not that life has become easier, it hasn't. Bills still come, deadlines still chase you, memories still sting, and futures still feel uncertain. But in the middle of all of it, you notice something subtle but profound. You are no longer alone in the chaos. And not just in a romantic way, not in the scripted, cinematic sense of being together. It's something deeper, quieter, more sacred. It's in the way they sit with you in silence, never rushing you to speak. It's in the way their eyes don't demand, but invite. It's in how their energy asks nothing of you, not performance, not explanation, not perfection, just your being. And in their being, you begin to reclaim yours. The world may still be a mess. You may still have fears, doubts, unanswered prayers. But now there's this strange and holy steadiness between you, a rhythm that doesn't collapse under pressure. Together, you hold life with open hands, not controlling it, not avoiding it, but moving through it as if your spirits are tethered, and the rope between you does not fray in the wind. It's not that the chaos disappears. It's that your nervous system begins to believe that peace is no longer a place you must find, but a presence you can return to. There is a beautiful deception that often surrounds love, the belief that the right person will make you feel only good things. Only peace, only light, but the soul does not crave comfort. It craves truth, and the right person, the truly right one, does not come to pacify your illusions. They come to illuminate them. Their love does not simply soothe, it summons. It calls forth what you've buried, what you've disowned, what you've tried to silence with smiles and distractions. It beckons your shadow into the light, not to shame you, but to ask you gently, are you ready to be whole? Because deep within you there are fragments. Old wounds tucked beneath polished words, unspoken fears wrapped in armor, dreams you labeled foolish, anger you thought was unworthy, desire you once judged as too much, and then, through a glance, a word, a silence too long, they touch it. Not intentionally sometimes, not even consciously, but something in their being brushes up against your shadow, and suddenly you're reacting. You don't know why you're withdrawing, why you're irritated, why you're afraid they'll leave, or why you want to run. You don't yet realize you're not responding to them, you're responding to your own reflection, mirrored in the unexpected clarity of their presence. And this is where the real alchemy begins, because unlike past entanglements, you're not being torn apart. You're being exposed not for punishment, but for healing. The right person sees you flinch and doesn't flinch back. They watch you get small and don't abandon you in it. They listen to your story, and instead of trying to fix it, they honor it. They don't get lost in your darkness, but they're not afraid to walk beside you through it. And in doing so, they give you permission to stop hiding. You begin to say things you've never said out loud, admit things you never thought you'd confess, show scars you used to keep covered, and instead of judgment, you feel presence. Instead of distance, you feel connection. Instead of shame, you feel strangely free. Not because they saved you, but because they held up the mirror long enough for you to see that your darkness is not your disqualification, it is your depth. And in that revelation, something ancient awakens, a knowing that love is not the denial of the shadow, but the sacred space in which it is met, integrated, transformed. There is a turning point in every deep connection where something subtle but seismic shifts, a moment where the relationship no longer feels like a negotiation of needs, but a revelation of something greater than the self. Up until then, love had been filtered through the ego, the part of you that calculates, protects, manages, and defends. It asks, do they make me happy? Do they meet my standards? Do they see my worth? But when the right person enters your life, those questions begin to dissolve. Not because they're unimportant, but because they begin to feel too small for the magnitude of what you're experiencing. This connection doesn't just make you feel satisfied, it makes you feel humbled. Not in humiliation, but in awe. Suddenly, you are no longer the center of the universe. Your victories, your wounds, your past definitions of love, they don't disappear, but they become part of a much wider landscape. And you begin to see them not as an extension of your identity, but as a soul in their own becoming, a being on their own sacred path. You stop trying to own them and start honoring them. Your language changes from mine to with. Your inner posture shifts from grasping to receiving. You no longer see them through the distorted lens of what they can do for you. You begin to see them for who they are, outside of your projections, beyond your expectations. And perhaps for the first time, you feel something you didn't even know you longed for, the surrender of control. You stop needing to win, to be right, to be praised. Love becomes less about being mirrored and more about becoming still enough to witness another soul unfold in real time without interference, without agenda, without fear. And in that space, you catch glimpses of a love that is not transactional, not conditional, not performative. A love that exists not to inflate the ego, but to transcend it, not to possess, but to transform. Not to fill an emptiness, but to ignite a wholeness already within. And slowly, gently, inevitably, you begin to move through life not just as one, but as part of something deeper. Not because you've lost yourself in another, but because the boundary between I and you has softened into